Oh, I hear the stream. Okay. We're good.
All right. Yeah, let me cancel any of my background here real quick.
Yeah, I just turned my phone down too.
Hey, Nick, say something just to make sure I didn't turn around.
I'm just making sure, saying something real quick.
All right. We're good. We're good. I just want to make sure turning that one volume didn't mess with yours.
Okay. Where is everybody? Is someone gonna watch my stream? Someone gonna watch my stream? Where is everybody? I thought you guys wanted to watch me stream. Where are you? Randy, where are you? Really miss you, Randy. I don't need to have Suzanne here. It's just Static Age, best mod. He's the best mod now. He's number one. I love the trailer as the VHS box set. Let's just get right into it. All right? Let's just get right into it. Welcome back, everyone. All 4 viewers. 3 of them are us. That's awesome. Lonesome Dove was our assignment. And I got to say, I appreciate everyone who stuck it out for the 6 hours. Not calling you out, Static. Not at all. Not at all. You son of a... Anyways, Lonesome Dove. This came out in 1989, and I typed out a little opening to it. Jason, sorry, bud, you don't get to open it this time. This time it's Nikki. What do you think of that?
Go ahead,
it's great
man.
to be back after the 2-week and 2-day hiatus. Also, side note, guys, if you want to watch what we're watching, follow the channel, subscribe, and then join our Telegram. It's a handy little app that lets me post every movie that we're watching that week that the wheel decides for us. This week was one of my picks, and because I had court last week and an awful, awful fiasco going on, we are streaming today. So with the 2-week hiatus, yeah, it was the perfect time frame to give people to watch this 6-hour mini-series, Lonesome Dove, based on the book by some author. I did not go that far to the research, but okay.
Larry McMurdy.
Yeah, that guy.
Murdy.
It's him.
Yeah,
Lonesome Doves is an incredible story of 2 ex-Texas Rangers who never gave up their oath to uphold justice and keep evil in check. They live a dull life in a poor town when their old friends, both former Texas Rangers, Joshua Dietz and the lofty Jake Spoon, ride into Lonesome Dove when the latter of the two sells them an idea of starting a cattle ranch in Montana, the first cattle ranch. Lonesome Dove has the perfect runtime of 6 hours, giving it the ability to show us a variety of characters and their imperfections, such as the cowardly Sheriff July Johnson, a man crippled to inaction in part of his fear of dying alone, and his naive deputy Roscoe, Jake Spoon, a man whose lack of confidence and drive leads him to his downfall, but also his love that leads him to his redemption. Lorena Wood, a young whore who leaves that life behind in promise of a better one. Newt Dobbs, a young bastard still learning what it means to be a man on the treacherous road north to Montana. And Captains Woodrow Call and Gus McCrae, two brothers in arms that led this cattle run, who never gave up their duty, both to the world to be arbiters of justice and morality, and who always hold each other to be the best man that they can be in a fallen world riddled with wicked, sinful beings. While Gus and Call may not be saints, they're two men holding on to what order they can in the Wild West. There are many other characters and stories of death inside this tale that I'm sure we are going to give the proper spotlight, me and my fellow panelists, and we will touch on that further. My favorite two quotes from this movie. I'm sorry, there's three favorite quotes, but we'll talk about the one from Gus later. My other two favorite quotes that I wrote down from Woodrow McCall is after he beats the shit out of the old guy with the army, and he explains to the crowd, "I hate rude behavior in a man. I won't tolerate it." And at the end, when Gus's entire experience is going before his eyes with a journalist harassing him, he says, you think I'm a man of vision? Yeah, hell of a vision. I give this 9 out of 10 stars. This was a fantastic piece of cinema. And again, I can't stress it enough. 6 hours was the perfect runtime for this, for you to be able to get such a wonderful experience. If it was done in movie format, you wouldn't be able to. They'd probably switch directors, or the cast would be changed. No, this was one filming project. It ran 6 hours, and it was damn good. Who wants to go next?
Why don't we have Jason go?
I'll go next. I will. Wow. Hey, give it up for Nikki. That opening statement was fantastic.
Yeah.
That was very good.
Thank you.
Pretty much captured this perfectly. I mean, I really have nothing to add, but as far as my opening statement is, I agree. This I'm going to be real at first, because I hadn't seen this one, which was actually surprising to me because I'm very familiar with Westerns. Something from childhood. I used to watch a lot of Westerns with my grandfather on my dad's side, and you know, he had a whole collection, and we used to watch Turner Classic Movies and all that stuff. So I've seen a lot of Westerns, and I always had an affinity for them because of the wholesome and moral lessons that they contain within them, and the clear-cut black and white between the good guys and the bad guys. And I always like that. And of course, they always spice it up with sort of ambiguous characters where they do possess kind of both good and bad. But I was surprised I hadn't seen this one. So I was totally unfamiliar. After watching the first episode, I think, because I think it's each episode's an hour and a half, right? It's like 4 parts. And I watched the first part, and I was kind of like, all right, yeah, this is kind of a milquetoast Western. But once it got to part 2, and then just continued from there, part 2, 3, and 4, for me, I became so invested. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I watched this thing. I watched, I think, about 3 hours of it in one afternoon. And I was sitting in here in my apartment by myself. I was bawling, dude. I was like paper towel. I'm crying like every 10 minutes, man. Like, I was so invested in the dialogue and the relationships and the scenarios. I mean, the whole thing. I was just like, yo, this is good. I mean, it comes across as kind of a, just basic made-for-TV Western. But if you actually give this thing a chance and you watch it a little bit and start identifying with some of the characters, man, dude, I agree. This is probably a 9 out of 10 for me.
Nice.
So, As far as other insights, I guess we'll get into it tonight. You know, there's a bunch of scenes I want to talk about, a bunch of dialogue I want to talk about. I also did a little analysis on some of the names of the characters and things. So
Nice.
it should be fun. Should be fun to get into all that.
Josiah, excellent opening statement. Jason,
Yeah.
Josiah.
All right. Yeah. For me, I'm going to start this off with a quote, and that was from Gus. And Gus said, "It's not dying I'm talking about, it's living." And I think that really kind of sums up for me the whole kind of theme of Lonesome Dove. I mean, it's a story about, two old rangers, as Nick said, who are, on a cattle drive from Texas to Montana. And there's that whole Western quality about it that I love. Just like you, Jason, I love Westerns. I grew up with Westerns. There's always kind of this element in there that always resonates with me, but there was something a lot deeper here. Like at the heart of it, we think of that title, Lonesome Dove, and Lonesome Dove is the name of the town, but I think that title, Lonesome Dove, actually really speaks to the fact that every one of them is kind of searching for something, and they believe that their happiness will come from somewhere else. And whether it be like Montana, which is where they're wanting to end up, or San Francisco, or being acknowledged as the sun, or whatever. And we'll get to some of these in a while here. But one of the questions that the story keeps asking is whether, changing the landscape can actually change the person. So, and also, the two words of Lonesome Dove together are really, I think, describe the whole story when I look at all the characters on their journey, because these are profoundly lonely people in their own ways. They all have some reason why they're disconnected, why they're lonely, why they're not attached, and yet so many of them have this incredible capacity for love, for mercy, for duty, for loyalty, for sacrifice, and that brings kind of this Christian element to it for me that spoke to me at this really, really visceral level. And I will go into that also a little bit deeper later on. There's also, I think the relationship between Gus and Call harkened to me of so many relationships, like between David and Jonathan in the Bible, or Frodo and Sam, that real brotherhood where words don't necessarily have to express that duty and that sacrifice, but that love is shown by action. So that's my opening statement. I'm excited to dive into it.
Excellent. I forgot one thing real quick. Here we go. Boom. There we go. Geez, that's sloppy. I'll fix that as we talk. No, that it's truly a great dynamic, and yeah, Lonesome Dove. I mean, yeah, these are lonely people. I like what you said. Your favorite quote with, I'm talking about living. You've got these two old ex-Texas Rangers. They've got a dirt farm. They've got nothing really going on. These are guys that fought at the Alamo. These are guys that, or actually, I don't know if they fought at the Alamo, if they mentioned they did or didn't. Probably not. I think that was a losing battle. But these are guys that fought off the Comanches. These are guys that kept Texas in order. And what did they do? They got old. Or not even that old, really. They got older. They settled down for a boring life where they would just be in no risk of danger at all. And then Jake Spoon comes up. And it's funny. I find it really interesting that Gus is really excited for the idea. And Woodrow, I don't think he really cares that he sees how great of an idea this is, how promising it is. He just sees that Gus is on board, and he's like, we're doing it. We're doing it. And he ends up becoming more dedicated to it, like more driven and more determined than Gus. But Gus is still trying to convince him. He's like, come on, man, this is the right move. And Woodrow doesn't really seem to care whether it's the right move or the wrong move. It's what his brother wants to do, and he's like, we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I love about Woodrow Call too, is that he's a man of action first and foremost. That's
Absolutely.
how he operates through actions. He's not a talker, but when he does talk, it's very moving. Almost every line he ever gave in the whole movie, I was touched by it.
Yes.
Because he is such a quiet, determined, gritty guy. But he always shows up when he's needed. He always does the right thing. A great man of honor, and that's why I love the dynamic between Gus and Woodrow. Because Gus, he's a talker, he's a joker, he's an adventurer in an extroverted sense. But Woodrow is an adventurer in an introverted sense. He's down for the cause. He's down for the adventure. But he's in my mind, Gus is he's a leader, and Woodrow is a great teammate for a leader. You know, like if Gus is the president, Woodrow's the vice president, and type idea, where he's a really good second-hand man. He's a right-hand man. He's not necessarily the face of an operation. He's the right-hand man who makes sure that operation gets done right, you know?
Oh, exactly. He would not be...
He does the grunt work.
Yeah, not just the grunt work, but he would keep the main man on track. You know, his absolute focus will keep you on track. He will hold you accountable, and he will remind you, this is what you're doing. Don't back down from it. It's an incredible duo between the two. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, no, not at all. You didn't interrupt at all.
But, yeah, what a dynamic. I mean, them and Dietz, and it was really interesting. Look, again, I got to touch on the 6-hour thing. Like, you would not be able to unpack all these relationships that are going on, the depth of the characters and how they interact with each other. Like, just them and Jake Spoon alone, you would probably have to do 3 hours of this if you were only focusing on the story of those three. You know, and Jake, his downfall truly being, like, all he is an ideas man. He's an ideas man, and he's got some semblance of morality. He's got some semblance of right and wrong, but overall, he's just an ideas man. And once you get the idea, you really got no value in the guy after that.
Right.
And one quick comment for those who are listening. One quick comment, and the characters that we mentioned so far. Gus is played by the incredible Robert Duvall, and of course Woodrow is Amelie Jones, and then Jake the Spoon is played by Robert Urich, and the acting is like you can't measure it. It's so amazing.
Let's go over this cast, because it's full. It's absolutely full of stars. There's so many in this. Where's my thing? Nope. Hold on. Where's my screen? Whatever. I'll just stick with this one. You've got Robert Duvall as Augustus, Gus McCrae, Tommy Lee Jones as Woodrow F. Call, Danny Glover as Josh Dietz, Diane Lane, beautiful young gorgeous. Diane Lane. Oh,
gorgeous.
Peak white woman, Mamma Mia, me likey.
$50 well spent.
I knew you'd touch on that. That is, I'll circle back to that in a second. Robert Urich as Jake Spoon, Angelica Houston as Clara, Chris Cooper as the cowardly sheriff, July Johnson. Who else? You've got Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi's in this. That's like
I almost forgot.
The rapist cowboy that gets put in check by the big dumb oaf. There's so many big names in this, and it's the casting incredible, cinematography great. I mean, it's Western cinematography. It's hard to mess up. You get a lot of landscape shots. The music
was good.
Oh, this thing was just a masterpiece.
Completely.
So, Josiah, I want to spur your question you had for us, and that was funniest moments.
Yep, funniest
favorite
moments.
Funny moment. And I'm gonna go with, right, you asked earlier in the Discord. I gotta say, so there's that scene where Jake is getting with the whore, Lorena Wood, and he knows she's a prostitute, but Gus goes in for one last poke with Lorena and pays her $50, which is a good amount of money. That could buy you a horse back then. And he tells her to buy a horse with it after he's mad that Gus pokes her. And she shows off the new horse. He says, got yourself a new horse. And Jake says, yeah, well, she had $50 to do it with, and he kind of looks off passive-aggressively, and Gus taps him on the knee and goes, hey, money well spent twice, right?
Yeah. That's definitely my favorite funny scene, for sure.
Yeah. That's yours as well?
Yeah, that's mine as well.
That is one of mine. For me, a lot of times it's the facial expressions on Woodrow's face when Gus won't shut up, and
yes.
Tommy Lee Jones, like, I laughed so hard. Like, one of the things I had to rewatch because his face was acting with his face was so amazing.
Yes.
And I think some of the more kind of running gags, like the pigs and all that, was funny. But no, that one is a call out. I could not remember the quote, Nick. So thanks for reminding me about the quote, because I couldn't remember what it was.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Another scene that was actually pretty serious, but I found some serious humor in it, and it really spoke to Gus. What a dynamic, wonderful character Gus is in all scenarios.
Yeah.
When him and I forget the name of the one of the helpers. Remember when Gus is like, "Hey, let's go chase them buffalo for sport." And the guy is kind of hesitant, and he's like, nah, and Gus takes off. But then Gus comes riding back over the hill, chased by a crowd of Indians. And then Gus ends up taking a couple arrows in the leg, and they end up in a creek bed, and they go into like a little burrow cave that's there for cover. And they're both laying, Gus is laying there. He's literally got 2 arrows in his leg, and he's shooting Indians, and the other guy is all scared and kind of like doesn't know what to do. And he's fearing for his life, essentially, but Gus is just right there in the thick of it, just taking care of business. And then the Indians relent for a moment, and Gus is telling the guy, they're probably going to come back at night, and, we're going to need to be picking them off. And the guy says something to the effect of, well, I'm not much of a sharpshooter. I need time to think before I aim, otherwise I don't hit nothing. And Gus is like, man, it sure is depressing talking to you. Man, of all the people trapped in this hole with, it's this retard.
In that same scene as well, they're trapped in that creek bed, and Gus just starts, and he's like, they probably never heard Comanche before. I spooked them. He's just howling. He's just howling.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, Gus has so many good lines. And it's seriously, Robert Duvall and Tommy Lee Jones both, they got incredible spotlight in this movie to show range, just huge acting range. Man, I gotta say, up until the ending, I definitely thought, Gus was my favorite through this, but I gotta say it's Call.
Yeah,
Call was.
Me too.
Yeah.
And seeing Tommy Lee Jones tear up. Now, it was great when Jake Spoon kicks his own horse, and you see Duvall, and he's typically not shaken, but he's shook by this, and he's got that sharp look in his eyes, and like he did that.
Yes.
He did that.
Well,
he redeemed himself, and that's yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, let's talk about that scene a little bit, because that's one of my primary, like, as far as top 5, 6, 7 great scenes in this thing. That was one of the first scenes that really, really showed me this isn't a surface level Western. There's actually a lot of depth here amongst the character and about justice and honor and brotherhood and loyalty and mistakes and repentance. I mean, there's so much going on in this. But let me just give the rundown for the viewers of this scene. So Jake, he was the one who's dating Lorena the whore, which speaks to sort of a level of foolishness and selfishness, Like, he
Yeah.
knows it's probably not smart to date this woman, especially if you're going to be jealous about every other man who, hires her,
Right.
which he was. So it speaks to his character. He's somewhat of a fool, and he's also selfish at the end of the day, and and he makes mistakes, but he's not evil. He's not evil. Um, and so he gets wrapped up with some outlaws who are traveling territory, doing essentially just killing for fun. I don't know what these outlaws were actually doing. I guess they were just taking what they wanted from wherever it came from, and they didn't care what it took, But
Yeah.
he gets wrapped up with these outlaws, and he quickly realizes he doesn't belong with them because they're truly evil, right? Like, they're not just out here trying to be selfish or do this or that. They're legit evil. Like, they're killing innocent people and burning their bodies and laughing about it. And Jake the whole time's kind of like, yo, this is not what I'm not. In a way, Jake's kind of a middleman figure. He doesn't feel he fits in with Gus and Woodrow and that crew, but he also doesn't fit in with this evil outlaw crew. So he's kind of stuck in the middle now with nobody to relate to, which is his own doing. But so these outlaws, they're killing and burning, and they're going through territory, and Jake's justification for why he's riding with them is just so he can get through the territory, and then at the next town or whatever, he's going to break away and go on his own way. But so these outlaws with Jake, and there was moments where these outlaws, they're killing and burning, and Jake's like, I'm not here for this. And then the outlaws are kind of like, okay, well, now we have to keep you in check because now you can go and run and tattle on us. So you're stuck with us now, whether you like it or not, So there was a degree of Jake being like, he's not party to it, but he is by association. So, and that was a mistake on his part by being selfish and doing this stuff. Well, now you're caught up in something you can't control, right? And so they're leaving this trail of killings and burnt bodies, and at the same time, Gus and Woodrow and that crew, they're also doing their journey, and they're coming across all these bodies and stuff. So they're keen to figure out who and what is doing this. And so they when they confront this gang, they find out Jake's with them, and they have no choice but to assume the worst. How are they going to know if Jake's going to lie to them and say, oh, I didn't kill anybody, but really did? They don't know. All they have is the
Right.
evidence, a bunch of bodies, and here you are with them. So we have no choice, right? And they also knew his character a little bit, right? And so when confronted, Jake tells Gus and the guys, he didn't kill anyone, and he was going to break away from the gang at the next territory. And Gus says, you go along with 5 killings, you're sure slow to leave. And Jake really didn't have a response for that, because that's the truth. And so as the guys are all there and they're all confronted or whatever, Gus or Woodrow or whatever, or I think he tells Woodrow to go find a tree to hang him from. And one of the criminals is like, hey, what is he doing? He's like, they're finding a tree to hang you from. And then I just thought,
Yep.
man, so direct. It's like, yo, yeah, we're going to kill you, bro. Like, sorry. And,
And just to
and I
call
thought
out
that
real
was
quick
just-
to add to it, these are retired Texas Rangers. They're not even in their own state
Right.
where they once had
Yep.
jurisdiction, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
They're doing what's right.
Right.
They're putting an end
Yes.
to evil.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So the scene continues, and then now they got it. All these outlaws are on their horsebacks with ropes around their necks, and then one by one they slap the horse, and the horse takes off, and then the men hang. Right. And it gets to the time, do Jake last? And of course, none of the guys feel good about it, but they also know this is, we have no choice in the matter, really. And Gus says, you ride with outlaws, you die with outlaws. Sorry you crossed that line. Like, man, dude, that's a good lesson. That's a good lesson, like, okay, you might be a little rough around the edges yourself, but you still got to be careful of who you're party to in this world, Guilt by association is real, and influence and things, that's real. And Gus, when he's hanging the leader of this little outlaw band, he says, "You're the kind of man it's a pleasure to hang. If all you can do is talk guff, go talk it to the devil." And then he slaps the horse and the guy swings.
Yes.
And it was just like, yo, dude, yes. Like, so awesome. And then so then it comes to Jake. This is the whole purpose and highlight of why we're talking about this scene. And Jake's on the back, and he's giving his last words, kind of explaining himself and coming to grips with this is just the way it is. And it's almost kind of a semi-repentant moment where he's acknowledging his mistakes, but he's also accepting his fate in the matter, right? And so I had a lot of respect for that. And in one last act of honor, Jake jabs his own spurs into his own horse to initiate his own hanging, so that Gus didn't have to be the one physically responsible for the cause of the hanging of Jake. So Gus wouldn't have to carry that burden on his heart, because he knew all the men were conflicted in this matter. And at the end of the day, Jake just had to own it. And I thought that was beautiful. I mean, that was one of the first scenes I started on at just how, wow, so many rich layers there going on. And then all the men, they wish they didn't have to hang him. And after he's hung, you can see it on Woodrow's face. You can see it on all their faces. This was not a hanging they felt good about doing. But, Gus says to Woodrow as they're riding away from the scene, Jake liked to joke and didn't like to work. I got those same feelings myself. So he's kind of admitting, like, Jake wasn't great, but he wasn't great, but he wasn't evil either. He was kind of somewhere in the middle. And honestly, that's how I feel about myself too. And all through the movie, we see Gus like operating from a place where he sort of has one foot in two worlds at all times. He can joke, he can play, he can be serious, he can kill people. So it's like, a nice balance there in his character. But anyway, I'll let you guys chime in. I ranted.
Go ahead, Nick.
I had a comment and a question, right? I forgot the comment. Here's the question. So after they slap the horse of the first guy, who kind of looks like Gary Busey's son, just the absolute scumbag, the demon that gets off on this like bloodlust of just scumbaggery and just being a piece of shit, burning the bodies. And why'd he burn the bodies? So they couldn't bury them, so they couldn't give them a proper burial.
Yes. And he even said sorry to interrupt, but when those bodies are burning, he even says, "What a beautiful sight, ain't it?"
Yeah,
he loves it. Like, to him, this is something beautiful,
Yeah, that man was controlled by demons, absolutely. But they slapped his horse, and the second horse goes off itself. The second horse is spooked, so a second guy is hanged at the same time as that. So I say this because there was the bald guy, right? And he goes, "I should have been second. That was supposed to be me. I was second in command. I should have gone right after." He sort of has, now correct me if I'm wrong, a sense of I did wrong, and I'm ready to atone. What do you guys think? Do you think he was kind of, I don't know, maybe not redeemed in the end for his horrible deeds that he took part in with this scumbag, but do you think he really saw that he did wrong,
I think he did, because, and I see that like that dichotomy in all the characters, because there's that everybody kind of like I said at the beginning has this like loneliness about them, and something about them that is very broken, and yet at least for the main characters, come to this place of mercy or heroism or grace, and I do think that might have been a moment of grace for him.
I think it maybe not a moment of grace, but it definitely it snapped him out of that. He was persuaded by those same demons, and then he was. So go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
Well, the way I would describe that moment with that guy is like he's in the presence of light. He's been out here in the dark with this band, doing the dark deeds and whatnot, and now he's in the presence of righteous justice, shedding light on the truth of what they're doing, and there's no escape, and he has no choice but to acknowledge it, and that's his real time sort of acknowledging, like, yeah, no, I am second in command. I should have been second. You know, like if we're bringing order to the chaos, let me give you my 2 cents on how we do that appropriately, type deal. You know, like,
yeah.
But in a way, it could be also seen as maybe a type of gloating, like
that's true too.
well, I was
That's
second
true too.
in that. You know, I was second, so you know, like he's trying to paint himself as I'm just as bad as him. So how, you know what I mean? Who knows? But that's the beauty of the writing and the acting in these scenes. They're multi-layered, and you know.
That's interesting. You saw it that way, and maybe you're right. I don't know. This might be a book worth reading. I've never read a Western book, but I gotta say, I saw it as him. I think it snapped him out of it, like you said. Similarly to what you said, he saw righteousness and justice, and I don't think it was more that he was gloating. I think he was just sort of taking ownership, being like, I should have been next. I'm owning up to this. I should have been next because I was his right hand in all this crap.
Yeah, that's my primary interpretation as well, but my secondary interpretation would have been the gloat thing. Yeah.
All this stuff which is crazy, like the rogue Comanches and stuff, like Blue Duck's crew, they did some awful stuff, but these guys seemed kind of worse. And I think if they were to let go on their rampage, they would have done worse and more heinous stuff than those natives, the native outlaw murderous pack, which wasn't all natives, you know what I mean, though. Blue Duck's crew of just scumbags.
The ones that did all those awful things to Lorena. Yeah.
Oh yeah, poor Lorena, poor Diane Lane.
Yeah. Yeah, and Lorena's one of them. I'm thinking about kind of my favorite scenes of the movie in terms of also kind of the overall themes when I'm looking at it would be the scene in which Gus rescues Lorena from Blue Duck, and you know, the aftermath of that, and first of all, Lorena's always been kind of treated as this, you know, outcast, and people look at her for what she does, and even she has those difficulties with what took place with her, and the way Gus treats her. He never treats her as anybody but human, and I feel like there's this like Mary Magdalene and Jesus quality about that, where you know, or any of the women who were shown mercy by our Lord and in the Gospels. You know, once he showed her that human side, that was a real redemptive part for her as well. And that's one of my absolute, I think, favorite times of the movie, and I think favorite scenes of it, besides all the scenes with Woodrow and Gus, and even being asked to, you know, when he first asked Gus to transport him. But what it broke down for me was, I saw in the story the three different types of love that there are, and so we've got erotic love, eros, and so obviously all these people are you know, turned on by not just Lorena but Clara, and but also we know what kind of a promiscuous Gus has been, and then we also have filial love, and obviously the filial love is demonstrated in many ways, and certainly the pinnacle of that would be between Woodrow and Gus. But then we have agapeic love, or agape. That's the highest form of love, and that's sacrificial love, and we see the sacrificial love happen as well. And so for me, like when I was looking at this movie, I that kept like just screaming to me about how we could see all of those really present in that movie, in that series.
Absolutely. You could argue that this truly is a love story. And in the entirety of what love is, in all types of love, you've got the brotherhood love, you've got the erotic love, you've got the romance love. It's an incredibly great love story. And speaking of Gus, what a great character. I think Gus was just so lustful towards the end, and maybe not even entirely lustful. If you keep in mind, he's only interested in 2 women in this, and one of them is the new flame, the other is the old flame. And I don't think he was really interested. What was her name? Lorena. There we go. I don't think he was really interested in Lorena Wood as a whore. I think he always did sort of love her. It was just he knew that was her profession, and gave her money. Yes. Why would he give her $50? $50 for a whore to basically buy a new car. But
yeah, well, I had a thought about how Gus's 2 love interests with Clara and Lorena, and they're sort of 2 opposite ends of a spectrum. Clara, she's an established. She's established. She has property. She has a family. She's a home wife. She's, they would call her a proper lady, right? And Lorena, she's not a lady. She's a whore. But Gus is trying to uplift her out of that self-assessment of herself into, no, you are a lady too, and you don't have to be a whore. You can easily, experience redemption and sort of uplift out of that. And he was the conduit to do that for her. And that's why when I look at Gus's relation to each of these women, with Clara, Gus is more of her peer. They're older, they're established, they've had a long history together, and it just never worked out because Clara had other things, and she always turned him down because she sees how he is a little promiscuous, and he does, go off on these dangerous journeys. Well,
and she was married.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. She had other things. She had other things that prevented her. But when she's being honest about, when he's asking her to marry her, she turns him down, and she sort of explains why, right? But then you have Gus and his relationship to Lorena. She's far younger. And so, you have Gus as sort of an equal or a peer to Clara, and then you have him in sort of almost a paternal role with Lorena. He's almost like a mentor or a guide or a father figure. And I'm not trying to taint the idea of a father-daughter with the whore dynamic. I'm just trying to describe the nature of the relationship of him as a man and how he treats each woman. He doesn't need to help Clara achieve nothing or raise her in any way. And this is another interesting thing I thought too. Gus longs for Clara like Lorena longs for Gus. So you have sort of this chain where everyone's looking the other direction,
These are 2 former Texas Rangers. These are cowboys stuck in the past. And I think Gus's love for Clara never died, and he wanted to sort of make Lorena into Clara.
Yes. Yeah,
Clara
exactly.
is what he never could have had and always wanted. And he's living in that past. I mean, you could see it when, I think it's the 2nd episode, they ride into town, and Gus just takes off. Gus takes off from Woodrow, and Woodrow's like, where the hell you going, Gus? And he trots up on Gus, and he's just skipping rocks under the pecan trees into the river. And he's like, what does he say? He says something about what was the happiest moment in your life? Because my happiest moment was here with Clara, just skipping stones in this river. And he never let go of Clara. He always wanted Clara. I mean, he even tells her the last time he sees her, he's like, tell me right now, I won't marry this woman. I won't marry Lorena. Tell me right now, I'll give it all up. I'll give up Montana. The man's a romantic. And I won't take this slander against him, saying he was just in it to bang whores.
I agree, man.
Well, I think for Clara also, I see, like, you know, her friendship with Woodrow is important too, because I think she also kind of demonstrates a sense of duty, because with Woodrow and his devotion to Gus, I mean, Clara, you know, is really taking care of her family with her husband's situation. What was he? Was he kicked in the head? Was that what happened?
Yes, Clara's husband, was kicked in the head by a horse.
Yeah. And so I think like there's a way in which that connection for them is, even though they're not really in love, that connection for them, I think, was showing like that same quality within them both. And she kept saying, I think, something to the effect. One of the other quotes that I thought was like kind of an ouch in the movie was like, a promise is just words, but a son is. She was talking about Newt, about the fact that Woodrow still wouldn't, you know, acknowledge Newt as his son, which is what Newt really wanted. Even though Newt was doing what Woodrow was doing what Woodrow always does, and that is he was actually, you know, giving him things. He was giving his time. He was doing things for him, and that was how he showed his love. What Newt always wanted was to have himself be acknowledged as a son, and I think, you know, Clara kept trying to get him to do that.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because remember when Clara was talking to Gus about Woodrow, and she's like, I don't like him. I never liked him. And it might be because she's judging him for how he's, you know, sort of not being verbally acknowledging to his son, even though he's there in presence and he's there as a watcher. And he even
she said it.
He even protects the son. Remember when the army guys came in trying to steal the horse from them, and the horse owner at first was like, no, the horse not for sale, but then he gets whipped to the ground, and then Newt jumps in and says the horse ain't for sale. And as soon as that army guy tried whipping Newt, Woodrow rolled right in and took care of business. Like, you know,
Two comments. One, she disliked Woodrow even before she knew that Newt was Woodrow's son. She disliked him long before that.
Okay.
And I think it has to do with Woodrow and his ex, Newt's mom. Let's be real. Newt's his son, right?
Yes.
Newt's his son.
Yes.
Gus even says it like he only ever dabbled with one woman, and she was a whore, and she had a son, and then she died. And I think she knew Newt's mom. I think she knew Woodrow's love. And Woodrow handles his heartbreak and his pining a lot different than Gus does. Woodrow is a cold, stern, stone-faced man that is not moved by much. And if he is, he does not show it. Rarely, ever. In fact, the only time you really see him express any emotion is after Gus's death and burying him. But yeah, she hated him. She hated him long before that. But he did love his son. He just wasn't able to own Newt as a son because he could never bring himself to admitting that he loved his mom. You know, he loved Newt's mom.
Yeah. Well, I think he learned in a difficult way that love is a dangerous game, and it can really hurt you. You know, he put himself out there. He got with this woman, you know, and then it was disaster. And so that wall of stoicism, I think, is like a self-defense mechanism from, I'm not going to show myself too much, because last time I showed, I got ripped up. So I'm gonna encase that thing with scar tissue, and no one's seeing it ever again. You know, that type of thing. You know,
and it's kind of the opposite of Gus. Gus wears his heart on his sleeve. You know, he doesn't care. He'll just be brutally honest. He doesn't give a damn. You know. Oh
man, dude. Yeah, Gus, man. Wow.
Such an incredible dynamic.
Well, speaking of Gus and Lori and all these people, you guys want to talk about one of my favorite scenes between Gus and Lori?
Sure.
Sure.
Unless you had something else lined up, Nick.
I'm just riffing.
But okay, cool. Yeah, let's riff. So another big scene for me that really cemented my investment in this series, and I couldn't look away after the Jake thing and after this scene I'm about to describe. They're at camp, and they just got done hanging Jake and all the outlaws, and they're just sort of at their camp regrouping, and they've got Lorena there, and she's got her own little tent for privacy and stuff, and no one's messing with her, and Gus is sitting there and with Lorena, and Gus is saying how they're going to go visit Clara, and Lorena asks Gus if he's going to leave her in the tent when he visits Clara, because she knows Gus loves Clara, and she don't want to show up with him and cause issue. And he says, I'm going to take you along and introduce you to her properly. Clara don't see another woman but once a month. She'll be happy for feminine conversation. Yep. And Lorena's like, she'll know what I am. And Gus says, yes, she'll recognize right off. You're a fine human being. Now you don't duck your head to nobody. He's like, you don't duck your head to nobody, Lori. Not to me, not to Clara, not to nobody. And so you could tell in that scene how Lorena, she's kind of dogging herself, like, oh, I'm just a washed up whore, and by showing up with me, it's gonna cast bad light on everybody. And this Clara lady, she's an upstanding, wonderful, dutiful, responsible, great, mature woman, and here I am, just this, object for money, essentially. And he encourages her, he uplifts her. He's like, no, man, don't talk about yourself like that. And honestly, I think he's being 100% correct. Like, I don't think he's even like embellishing what Clara would think of her, because he knows Clara, and he knows Clara's like him. They're very mature. They're capable of seeing past the surface of things. So he's kind of reassuring her, like, no, she would never judge you. She's going to recognize that you're a fine human being, just like I recognize you're a fine human being, despite what you do for a living, And that scene to me was just like, oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh. That was so good.
Ain't that kind of funny? We had a similar scene on the last pick in The Warriors when they're on the subway train, but he does it without words. Swan does it without words, She goes to bow her head and tuck her hair back, and he grabs her hand and puts it down, and he just stares at him. It's a similar premise. Yeah.
Yes. Dude, 100%, dude. That's good. That's really good.
I want to bring up real quick. We lost Josiah. I'll get him back. He's got a storm going on. There's a storm brewing in Josiahville. So we might have lost him for a minute. Hopefully he reconnects. But Sebek asked this. He asked me to bring this up. Speaking of which, Sebek, you could have been on this panel, and I wish you were. All right? Anyways, he said, I have an idea I want you to bring up when you talked about the hanging of Jake. So I should have brought it up earlier, but it's such an impactful scene. How do you not circle back to it and talk about that scene? It's such a defining moment of Lonesome Dove, and how dedicated Gus and Woodrow are to what's right, But Sebek says, he says, I would consider Jake a captive of the outlaws. And he says, do you think he kicked his own horse to preserve some semblance of honor and in a way to prove his innocence of the killings? Do you want to go first, or I will?
Yes, I think so, because that's correct. I might have briefly mentioned it, because when he becomes party to these guys, but quickly they realize he's not down for what they're doing, and then he's captive of them, because now he's basically at gunpoint from that point forward, right? Because they don't want him. They know he's not down, right? And so he is a captive of it, but it was his own foolishness and selfishness and willingness to compromise that led him into that situation to begin with. So, I mean, that's on him. But I agree. I think, yes, he was trying to, he knew he couldn't say any words that would change the perception or the reality or even the consequences. But he knew in that one last action, I can let him know Jake's still in here, you know. I'm not one of these evil outlaws like these guys. Jake's still here. I was just wrapped up in something bad. So he, in that last minute, I think it was to preserve some semblance of honor and give him a sign that, you know, yeah, just like I told y'all I didn't do any of the killings. You of course, you won't believe me because here I am at the end of a trail of corpses with the men who did do it. So you have no choice. But I think, yeah, he was trying to give one last indication that, no, I didn't do it, but I understand the justice of this situation, you know.
I feel it was more Jake knew he fucked up. Even though he tried to make excuses, Gus was right. Like,
and dude, that's in his character too. Like I said, he's kind of selfish. He's kind of, you know,
right.
He'll say and do things for his own benefit.
I think Jake was gonna die no matter what. Like, as soon as he stopped being in the care of other people, Jake's a retard. Jake's a stupid dummy, and he's an absolute fool, right? Look what happens when he deviates from Woodrow and Gus. He gets the freaking splinter or whatever he had in his thumb, and it's swelling, and he's in a feverish, delusional state. He's like shooting at a turtle near Lorena. Like, he's an absolute idiot. This guy cannot survive in the Wild West on his own. The guy's a buffoon. No. He's lofty. He's lazy. He has no drive. He's just an ideas man, and he has no survival instinct. And if he was an effective Texas Ranger, it was only because he was with Gus and Call. That's the only reason.
I'd agree.
And I think he was going to die immediately, no matter what. It just so happened he got with this pack of bandits, and he could have gone out honorably on his own, and I think he realized that. He could have gone out honorably on his own by attacking them, shooting back at them. Yeah. Hell, shoot him in the back if you gotta. But he didn't. He didn't. Right. He was a coward in the end. He was not a man of his own integrity. He was a coward in the end, and he just sat by. And yes, he did not want to take part in the killings. And yes, he wanted to run away when he tried to go look for the horses after they killed those guys. He was a coward, and he had to own up to being a coward. And that was just a way to redeem himself as a man, not as a man of morals, but as a man. And also... save his friends, his caretakers, really. The burden of the trouble of having to put down their idiot friend for being a fuck up.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, so that was great. I agree 100%. You know, dang, I just lost the thought, man. I was just going to reiterate one of the points you made. No, that was so good.
What was it?
That was so good.
That he owned up to realizing he fucked up, or that he was a coward, or that he was an idiot?
How you're right. He could have tried shooting one of them. He could have attacked him. He could have walked away even and got himself shot. But he chose not to. He chose to, you know, and I think with Gus and Woodrow and that crew, they view cowardice and inactivity in the face of evil is evil itself.
Correct.
That's why he's guilty. You know, you just sat back and let him do it. You didn't even, you know, you should have done any last thing. Even if you would have died doing it, you would have at least been justified and done the right thing. You know, so that was my point.
I'm gonna make a statement, and then I'm gonna ask you to make a lengthy one while I piss.
Okay.
This movie, Gus and Woodrow perfectly represent the philosophy of resisting evil by force. If you claim to be a force of good, it is your duty to resist evil by force. You can't resist evil with pacifism. You can't resist evil with just indifference. You have to resist evil by force. When you see evil, you have to put an end to it. And they are the perfect embodiment of this. I mean, they made it their jobs, but they never put that job down. They may have turned in their badges or, sold them off, whatever, doesn't matter. They never stopped being absolute arbiters of good.
Yes. Well, it goes back to that quote from the movie, the fear of living versus the fear of dying, or whatever that quote was. Jake was afraid of being killed by the outlaws, but he was afraid of doing the right thing. He was afraid of living, right? Like, to live in that moment would have been to do the right thing, but he let the fear of death prevent him from living and doing the right thing. So good. So good. All right. So Nick, I think he's going to the bathroom. All right. Well, so after, on the scene where Gus and Lori are there, and she's kind of ashamed of herself and Gus is reassuring her, as soon as he has a little talk with Lori, he goes over to the guys and they're all around the fire. They got the wagons there and they're about to go back to Ogallala, which is, I guess, in Montana, I think, or Nebraska. And Gus goes over to the guys and he says, I guess y'all plan on an orgy once we get back to Ogallala. Because as a true man's man, he knows what these guys are looking for every town they go to, right? Like, where's the whorehouse? Where's the saloon, right? And one of the guys says, easy for you to say, you got Lori. And Gus says, what's good for me isn't necessarily good for the weak mind. And I thought that was fantastic, because Gus definitely is not a weak mind. He is able to operate in sort of the two world, he has a higher perspective on things. He can withhold judgment and he can bring down judgment, and he knows when to do which. And he knows, okay, yeah, you can criticize me for being with Lori and her liking me out of the bunch of y'all, even though I'm the oldest, most goofball old guy out of the bunch, she's still with me. And but I love how he said that, because it's like, y'all are operating from like this weak mind perspective where it's like you can't see the human underneath the label. Like, yeah, she's a whore, but she's also a really great person, and and I can change her. I can't say, it's literally, I can fix her, bro.
Well, he's sort of also preaching. He's sort of also preaching to them as well, something that he is guilty of himself, and that's
yes,
the desire and attraction of another woman. It can bring your end. What is that quote from the movie? If you desire something so much, it's probably a disappointment. I gotta look it up. It's a great quote from the movie. Hold on. Lonesome Dove quotes. Maybe I can find it here. Oh, come on. 30 quotes. I don't need 30. Oh, come on. Let's see. Life's too short. If you want one thing too much, it's likely to be a disappointment. And, I think he was sort of preaching to them, based on, his past mistakes that he's still not over, Yeah.
And
these...
Yeah.
Not all of them. There was one old guy in with, like, the extra, cowboys and whatnot, but they were really teaching a lot to Newt through this whole trip. I mean, what it means to be a man,
Yeah.
Even with the hanging of Jake Spoon, just nope, we have to do it, and they have to set that example for him. This is your job. You are going to be an arbiter of good, and Yeah.
And it's not all rainbows. It's not all roses and rainbows either. It's some gritty, nasty work. You know, you really got to tap into a place in yourself. You know, a lot of men are probably too cowardly to go.
Whoa!
And you know, ooh, whoa, a
Whoa!
little tip there. Nice.
What the heck?
The Jason Affirmer, cool.
Jason Affirmer.
I feel seen. I feel affirmed.
There was no affirming comment, but Jason Affirmer sends $20 with just a period. He's just here to affirm you, bro. You're affirmed.
Very nice.
And you know what? You know what I'm going to do?
God bless you, Jason Affirmer.
I haven't touched any of the Stream Elements tips on here. Would you be opposed to me sending you a set of earbuds, Bluetooth earbuds, like a nice headset?
Oh, well,
Let me put you on the spot publicly.
No, yeah. Like, look, if it's gonna make my mic come through better, I'm down to invest in some earbuds for sure.
I'm buying them for you. That's it. I'm buying them for you. It's decided.
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing with the first round of tips.
No. Sorry to anyone in the audience. Yeah, I know my audio is probably not ideal. I'm literally just talking into my phone and stuff. So,
well, you with the bad
whatever makes the show better for everybody, you know.
All right. Speaking of guy with the bad audio, carry the show for a minute. I'm adding Josiah back in.
All right.
And your audio sounds decent. It's mostly decent, by the way. But we could definitely up the quality.
It's probably a little tin. It's probably a little tin canny. But okay. So after Gus has his moment with Lori, and he goes to the guys, and he mentions how you know, they have, you know, what's good for me isn't necessarily good for the weak mind. Well, then he asked one of the guys in the crew. He's like, "Hey, you tell fortunes, right?" And the guy's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What'd you tell my fortune?" And so they go and stand behind this wagon, and Gus asks him, "How many more times will I be married?" And the man has him spit into the wood floor of the wagon, and he like kind of examines the spit splatter. And you know, and interprets the spit there for a minute, and then he turns to Gus and he says, "No more wives for you." And then he wipes up the spit and walks away. And then as soon as he walks away, Gus goes and spits again right where the spit was. And I thought this was interesting because it speaks to this idea. You know, Gus is sort of trying to have he's trying to have two things at once. He's trying to have Lorena and Clara.
Right.
And he's already had two marriages, but both of them died. So this would be his third and fourth marriages if he were to ever marry Lorena. And so that's why he's asking about my future in marriage. And he says no, and he didn't like that answer, you know, because he wants to be able to marry Clara and then perhaps Lorena after Clara's dead, or one, you know, vice versa. And because he has a genuine love for them both. But that's the thing about Gus, you know. He's an adventurer. He likes to he's not going to give up on a dream necessarily, because he knows I think you know, all these characters in this movie have sort of stubbornness to them, right? Yeah. they all have a unique brand of personal stubbornness, and for Gus it's the hopeless romanticism. That's, I think, his primary stubbornness. Woodrow, it's the silent, cold stubbornness, very determined though, you know, et cetera, down the line. They all have stubbornness. All the characters do.
Absolutely. And to everyone watching, guys, please like the stream, but also on top of that, more important than like the stream, if you want to follow along what we're doing here, right? Download Telegram and subscribe to our Telegram channel. That is t.me/Monday Night Movie Club. I think I got that right. I really should remember it. I'm not great at this. Yep. t.me/Monday Night Movie Club. The link is in the YouTube channel description. I post all of the movies we're watching for the week on there. So if you guys want to follow along or even chime in, Yeah, I'm not asking you to watch Lonesome Dove every week, all right? Typically, movies run about 2 hours, all right? A good movie runs 2 hours. Deal with it. Okay, you can't take 2 hours out of the week? Get out of here. What are you doing? Anyway, welcome back, Josiah.
Thank you, guys. It's a horrible storm here. I apologize for that.
It's all your fault.
Have we talked about Deets while I was gone?
Have we
Not
talked
yet.
about what? No.
Deets. Okay.
Deets. Give us the
is one of my-
deets.
Give us some
the
deets.
Josiah.
Deets is one of my favorites, and Deets, I mean, I would say it's probably, with all of them and their flaws, with having a really redeemed side of themselves, I think he's probably the one that I could say would be unabashedly maybe the most perfect in terms of like wanting to just do the right thing, and doing the right thing, and he's. He had known, I think he affected both of their lives so much because they'd known him from the Texas Rangers, and he had, what I loved about him was like he had that, you guys remember the scene where they were in Wyoming and he was like, he was really, lecturing them about you shouldn't be, I don't remember the quote was, but it's basically like, you shouldn't be leaving like your home and your people for another location. Remember him saying that? What was that
Yes.
quote? Do you remember it? Because it was really poignant, but I don't remember the wording of it.
Well, he said something to the effect of, "What are we doing out here, man?
What's going on here?"
Why are we going all this way for this thing we don't even know if we can do?" And you've got love, you've got homeland, you've got all these things. I can't remember the quote either, but it was something to that sentiment.
It was to that extent, and I feel like, I mean, it was poignant because with him saying that, it makes his death seem more tragic because it's like, when he was trying to de-escalate the situation, he wasn't going in looking for a fight. When the spear got thrust at him by the kid. And he got killed, that hit me so hard because I hearkened back to that scene and I was thinking about how, you had cautioned about this, and now as a result, he's a casualty and a one that has made a real impact on him. I mean, I cried at the when Woodrow was carving the epitaph, and I remember everything it said. It was a long stuff at the end. The very last thing was splendid behavior. And,
I wrote down what he wrote.
Oh, tell what it was.
Oh, good.
And just for context to viewers who might not have seen this, Dietz was the scout, so he would go ahead of the group, and so and he's on this journey. He's seeing we're taking casualties. Good men are dying from snake bites and getting wrapped up with outlaws and all this stuff, and I think it was weighing on his heart. Like, what are we doing this for? What, just so we can have some cows graze in Montana, just to be able to say we did it first or whatever, So to him, I think he was having a moral issue with weighing the outcome versus the cost. And anyway. So he's scouting and he sees this band of Indians who had stolen horses.
The ones that stole the horses, yeah.
But however, he learned that they didn't steal them for riding. They stole them for food because they're starving, because they're incredibly poor. And so he didn't want the guys to go in there seeking revenge or justice in any sense. He just wanted to get the Indians to kind of run out of the scene for a minute so they could get their horses back. And during this event, they fire up a couple shots and all the Indians scatter, but there's a blind child who everyone darts and takes off, and this blind child who's probably 5-6 years old, he's stumbling around crying. He doesn't know where to go, where everybody went, and all he knows is a gun just went off. And so he ends up falling onto an animal skin that they're drying in the sun, and he's just sort of helpless and he's crying. And Dietz, being a wonderful, caring man, he runs down there and he picks up the child and he starts comforting the child, letting him know it's okay. But one of the young male Indians is in a bush and he sees him grab the kid and he assumes they're kidnapping this kid. So the Indian takes a spear and spears Dietz, and Woodrow even says to Gus, or maybe it was Gus to Woodrow, Dietz could have dropped the child, but he just stood there. He let that Indian spear him because he wasn't going to drop that child. And so it just speaks even further to the wonderful character of Dietz.
And you even see too, they're running to him. He's got the spear in his chest, and he's still holding the kid. He says, "Please, grab the boy, grab the boy."
Yep.
And he drops right after.
Yeah. Oh man. And okay, so then he's dead, and they dig a grave and they put a burial marker. And of all the people to carve the message on the marker, it's Woodrow, the one who talks the least. And he had
no words.
He had the best words for him, and he said, I think it was a couple lines about, he fought the Comanche, he fought, he talked about his battle history a little bit.
30 years of service.
30 years of service. And then he said, cheerful in all weathers, never shirked a task, splendid behavior.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
If you look at the cast with their aging too, I think it's important as well. Dietz was probably like really young when he initially was a ranger with Call and Gus, because he calls them sir. You know what I mean? They see him as an equal. He calls them sir, and this is someone who dedicated like all of their life to just being a solid man with these guys, and just a loving person too. He look at Jake when he's on the side of the riverbank and he's delusional and sweating and feverish with whatever he's got lodged in his thumb. Dietz doesn't judge him. He just comes up and he's like, this is abscessed. I got to relieve pressure. I got to get this out of there. And he just immediately starts healing him, Great character.
And there's one, there was one more line, and then I'll throw it to you, Josiah. There's one more line. When that Indian's running up, Gus and Woodrow see it, but they don't shoot right away. And, Woodrow says, I guess we should have shot sooner. And Gus says, I don't want to start thinking about all of the things we should have done to this good man. This series, guys, for those who haven't seen it, it is so chock full of some of the greatest, most heart-wrenching masculine lines of dialogue I've ever heard in my life.
It really is.
That's one of my questions later about the masculinity of it. Yeah.
I'll make that comment for later.
So I also want to comment on the fact it's played brilliantly by Danny Glover, and I love to, like, when I look at an actor's career, let's say, was this early in his career? It was relatively early, though. He was already in Lethal Weapon, which was right before it came out, the year before this. And I was like, what a dichotomy between, playing. I mean, he was a good guy in Lethal Weapon too, but he was pretty violent, And so it was definitely a different role than what he had played in before. But yeah, I felt like his acting was so another person in that movie that just drew you into that character through their acting.
Absolutely. And Josiah, so you were out here for a while. Do you have some questions for the panel?
I do have questions. Yeah, let me get those.
Excellent.
I wrote those down. Let me get those.
I know you typed one out to me. If you want me to. Okay. So here we go. You just kind of gave a synopsis of what you wanted to talk about, which is good. I'm glad you're back.
Thank you. Yeah, here's my questions. I had a few that I came up with for tonight, and one of them is about what does Lonesome Dove say about masculinity?
There we go. Let's jump right into that, and I'll say my 2 cents real quick. This movie is peak masculinity. This is everything to a man. This is love. This is loss. This is duty. This is honor. This is standing up for what's right. This is being an arbiter of good and resisting evil by force. This movie is masculinity, all of masculinity in a nutshell. Brilliant. This is brilliant. I love it. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely, I mean, with the courage and the honor, Judy, all those words you use.
And love. And love.
And love, absolutely, and love. And even those things that we struggle with sometimes, like, well, maybe not through Gus, but others of us maybe, of saying things and saying, maybe we don't use words, but we show it in what we do. That's also a big part of it. I mean, I felt like all of the heroes of this movie were, I think, archetypes of what a masculine man should be.
Where other Westerns fail, right? I would say there's very few Westerns that hold up to this one. Unforgiven is one of them. Unforgiven is a great one. Let's see. Hell or High Water, which some might argue with me that's not a Western. I consider it a modern Western. I'd consider it a modern Western and a masterpiece as well. But a lot of them don't have everything packed into this that this was capable of doing in 6 hours. But yeah, this miniseries, it's not a movie, it's a miniseries. It accomplished so much. Mela, we'll talk more about the Lonesome Dove title. I'm not sure we actually dissected it. We will get into that.
I thought on the Lonesome Dove.
I have a whole thing on that too.
Well, hold on. Let's stay on this, and then we'll go to that after. You look, every other Western is what, 90 minutes to 2 hours runtime? You cannot get into what this movie does, and you can't get into the depth of man. And where a lot of Westerns fail is love. They don't show the love aspect. I mean, sure, you've got a few John Wayne films where it's like, oh, he's married and he's got to discipline his wife or whatever. No, this movie shows the absolute pure spectrum of man in every one of its characters, every type of man there is too.
I would say, this is technically modern because it's 89, but I think it harkens back to the true essence of sort of the old black and white Westerns. This movie reminds me of such things as Shane. Shane is a great Western that has similar, just really, really dynamic, wholesome lessons and morality. And it also harkens back to Angel and the Bad Man, one of my favorite John Wayne movies, which is a very old one, black and white. And then there's another one, 310 to Yuma. 310 to, as far as Westerns that had sort of a modern remake. So the original 310 to Yuma, that's a classic Western, but then they remade it with Christian Bale and Russell Crowe, I think in the early 2000s. That's another really good one. So if people are interested in this style of Western, I would recommend Shane, 310 to Yuma, and Angel and the Bad Man.
Love it. You guys want another question?
Yeah, sorry, I had y'all put on that screen because I was pissing. But I agree. This is sort of the second generation of Westerns, I would say. Westerns kind of died off after the 70s a little bit. And then it came back with sort of this similar cinematography, but they were a little better at getting to the point. It was less atmosphere and more acting in the second generation of Westerns.
Yeah. So interesting side note on this idea of American cinema. I would actually implore everybody to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino, because he actually explores this idea of sort of the historical timeline of the golden age of Hollywood, when they were cranking out westerns and all these wonderful moral layered shows of righteousness and good versus evil and stuff. And then, of course, we have the hippie culture. The 60s occurs. And then Hollywood veers away from doing westerns. They see it as sort of an obsolete format. And so then they switch into, the 60s and 70s B-movie horrors and sexual stuff and all this weird acid stuff. And then from there, we fell even further into Satanic Panic, and you just keep following the trajectory to where we are now with the kinds of films being released nowadays. I mean, they're almost unwatchable. The 90% of modern films are unwatchable. But I thought he actually did have a valid thematic scheme in that movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, discussing sort of what we're talking about now, how Hollywood engaged in the Western Golden Age, and then it slowly started to corrode and decay over time, and what the effects of that have done to society at large. But that was just like a weird side tangent. That's all I really had to say about that.
Okay. No, that is a good point.
I have a question. I have a question related to what we just talked about, and we know that suffering plays a really big part in this whole framework. And so, did suffering of these characters make them better people, or did it reveal who they were? And I'm speaking specifically with we're looking at Gus and Woodrow, Clara, Lorena, Mute. Did their suffering and what we saw their suffering reveal to us and to them what was already in them, or did it make them better than they already were?
Oh, that's a good question, man. Dang. My gut reaction is both. But go ahead, Nick. Go ahead. I need to think on that for a second.
I think the our two protagonists, Gus and Call, I think they both knew suffering was good for them. They lived, the movie opens with them living a boring, pointless, dirt farmer, retired, washed up life. It's comfy, it's not very rewarding, but it's safe and it's easy, and Gus can go and get his poke every once in a while from the from the brothel, and
the driving.
But they knew what made them who they were, and that was suffering. Risk.
Yes.
Reward comes with that risk and hardship. And I mean, look at the scene. It's the very ending, right? Woodrow is bringing Gus's body back. His wagon is destroyed by the river. He ends up just dragging a skit with two posts that used to be a wagon. He's got no clothes anymore. He's in his underwear. The sun's beating on him. He's ragged. He's bloody. He is worn down, and that's what Gus wanted. And Gus got through to him in that. Finally, what the point of this was, it wasn't about setting up a cushy life in Montana. It was about living again. It was about being alive and living again, and facing hardship, facing what made them who they were, and showing that they could still do it too. And he did it.
Yep. Going back to that whole quote on living, absolutely, 100%, Nick.
Yes. Oh, I think you're correct, and honestly, I think it's twofold. I think the call to adventure, they had it in their blood, and they needed it, and they had more to give. And why not? Why settle down now? We're still alive, dude. Let's do it. But it's also, I think they're thinking of the younger generation that they're sort of bringing up, and they're saying, let's do this call of adventure where our, Newt and these younger men are going to inherit the ranch we establish. So not only do we get to have one last hurrah, they also get to have a life a life developmental experience, learning
Yes.
from us. And this reminds me of another John Wayne Western called McGlintock. If anyone's seen that.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
That should go on the list. That should go on the list.
That's definitely one of the classics. But
that should go on the list. Yeah.
It's about a similar premise. It's nothing like Lonesome Dove, but it's a similar premise about you got this old codger McGlintock, and they bring him out of retirement to lead one last cattle drive, and his wisdom is sort of transferred down to the younger men he's guiding on this cattle drive. And so that's how I kind of view Gus and Woodrow. They want to be able to hand something down to these wonderful young men that they're the stewards of, that they're brothers with, that they're fathers of. And so I think it was just a beautiful call to adventure to fulfill all of these dreams, if you will, right?
Yeah. Oh man, what a great answer to the question. I love that question that you guys took it to the next level.
What about you, Josiah?
As far as suffering, I think that they were. I agree with you, Nick. I think that they were aware. I think it made them more aware of the fact of who they were. I think it held a mirror up to them of what their natural tendencies were, but I think it also was both. I do think that what they went through made them even better. I mean, the fact that Woodrow did what he did with Gus, maybe he would have always done that, maybe not, but I think it was both.
Oh damn!
The mirror was held up to them through the suffering, and they can I hear me anymore?
I think I answered the question wrong.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I just remembered what the question was, and I think I went off on some tangent. Go ahead, Josiah. I'm sorry.
No, I think that it is. I think Jason, you might have said it was both. I think you might have said it was both. It's hard to know. Was it revealing to them what was already there, or did the suffering help them grow more? I think it did do both. It held them to a mirror to their face about who they were, and I mean certainly to Lorena. I think Lorena she did not see what was in her until it was shown to her by Gus, and so that was already inside of her, and because of the fact that was shown to her, it made her even better than she was. So I think there's a way in which all of that served to help them to embrace the Dove side of themselves, and then deepen that. So that's my answer.
To re-answer the question now that I remember what it was and not go off on the weird tangent I did, I don't think it changed Gus and Woodrow. I don't think it changed them. I think they were already hardened by the suffering. But I think it was the lack of suffering that was starting to change them. I think they understood.
For better, for worse.
Hardship made them who they were, and they went back to hardship because they were changing without it. They were becoming boring, dull, and no, that's not who they were.
On their laurels.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it.
That was a good question.
And so my related question to that, which is before we get to the final one about the title, would be, we know that Woodrow, with all he did for Gus, he could carry the body, back to Texas, but then struggled to acknowledge his son Newt as his son. Let's talk about that a little bit. Where did that come from? What was that about? Why was that struggle what it was?
So
on the acknowledging Newt as a son, he never did it verbally, but he did it through action. That's my interpretation.
100%. I mean, no doubt. you could not have shown him that he was, more of a father than he gave him his inheritance without saying you're my son. He gave his inheritance to him with all that he did for him, especially in the end. But but Newt wanted to have that acknowledgement of being a son verbally. Do you think that Newt appreciated the fact that his father did for him what he did, or was he still? I don't know. After the story, is there still going to be a regret that he's not been acknowledged?
I think Newt saw him as a father without even seeing him technically as his actual dad. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't really matter in the end if Woodrow owned him as his son. Woodrow raised him. And especially in this story, which I believe... the story spans over like a year and a half, if I remember the timeline correctly. This 6 hours spans over a year and a half of their adventure. It didn't matter if Woodrow owned him as his son. That Newt saw him as the father. Newt realized Woodrow raised him. Woodrow made him the man he was, and especially in that year and a half journey. That was the true lessons that a father teaches a son, and yeah.
I have an opinion on that, and I agree with you, but it has a counterpoint over the fact that there seemed to be a certain person especially a certain person who felt like none of this means anything because he hasn't acknowledged him verbally, and. I think you're right, Nick. Like, from our perspective as in a masculine movie, I think that it does speak that way. But it was a big deal for Clara too. Clara was not happy that didn't happen.
Oh, for sure. But Clara's a woman.
But that's what I'm trying to say without saying it. I'm just saying, guys handle things differently, and it's not saying
Yes.
it's like right or wrong. I'm just saying we handle things differently, and like I don't think that Newt was lamenting or at the end like, oh, I can't go on with my life because he never acknowledged me. I feel like he definitely appreciated it. I mean, in the long run.
Clara doesn't Clara's a woman, and that's not to disparage women. Clara is a woman, and she doesn't understand men like men understand men, and it wouldn't make any difference if Woodrow owned him. If Woodrow owned Newt as his son or not, he raised him. He taught him everything he knew. Everything he knew. It doesn't matter. And he gave him everything he had. That cattle run to set up the ranch in Montana was literally everything he had. He gave him his inheritance. That's his son. He did it through action. And she just didn't understand that. As good of a woman as she was.
You articulated it. I was like, okay, I can't say it. And then you said, well, okay, they're good. Because I really wanted to bring the point about the fact that, like, when we talked about this being a masculine movie, like, that is a masculine quality of, like, I know my dad in life, said he loved us, but more, I knew he loved us by the fact that he gave everything for us. I mean, he was there for us all the time, and a guy, that is how we express it, and that's how we are we also receive it, and so right. I think it was such a big deal for Clara that it put in your head like, oh, is this something that Newt is really going to be devastated if he doesn't get this the rest of his life? But then you see Newt, and especially in the end, and everything that he did for him, Newt does understand that he loved him, and it was that's masculine.
Yes.
That's why I asked that question when I did, because I felt like that's another reason why this is not just a typical Western. Like, I used to read Zane Grey and Tony Hillerman and all these other famous, Western writers and their movies, and even some of the John Wayne movies, but it was never this depth of human emotion and complexity of character that makes speaks to your heart so much, So what a brilliant work this was. And in reading the book, it's not much different than the movie. All you get in the book is more kind of the internal monologue. But it was pretty true to it. So I don't think, Nick, that you necessarily have to read the book, because I don't think there was necessarily anything in there, except you got more graphic scenes about what happened to Lorena. But we don't need to see that in it. You don't need to see it anyway.
It's implied. It's implied in the movie. She's traumatized for a reason, and it's not from being dragged through the dirt. No,
it was hideous, and that leads me to my last question, because I think it is related to all of this, and that is, so the title of Lonesome Dove. What does it ultimately mean? What does
this
that
for
mean?
you, Mella? What does Lonesome Dove mean?
Mella wanted to know what that means. I think that's a good one for us to dive into in the last 20 minutes.
I think so too.
So my thought on it is, and I'm going to think it more abstract and meta. Lonesome Dove. And when I think of those two words, I think how even though these people they have brotherhood, they have family, they have friends, they're not alone. However, at the end of the day, no one's going to feel your heartache, your pain, learn your lessons for you. So in a way, we all are lonesome. If an arrow in Gus's leg hurts Gus and no one else. And so Gus is alone in that experience. Even though he's surrounded by other people having that experience with them, he's the one with the arrow in his leg, right? And when I think of, that's when I think the lonesomeness is, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you could have 1,000 people crowded around you, but you're the one on the deathbed. No one else in that room's dying for you. You're facing death alone. And you're going to face trials and tribulations alone, even in the company of others. So that's what I'm thinking, the lonesome aspect. But the dove aspect makes me think Holy Spirit, and how we go through this life and we have these lessons, these trials, these tribulations, these revelations of our own character. We encounter these experiences. We're faced with something. We learn in real time who we really are based on what we do in that situation, and sort of the forces in us that we call upon. And so if you have the dove, the Holy Spirit, you're going to be a righteous, good person. You're always going to have that well you can tap into to overcome hardships, cowardice, weakness, whatever it may be. So that's how I'm interpreting the title Lonesome Dove.
Okay. Josiah, you or me next?
It doesn't matter. You can go ahead, buddy.
I mean, let's look at what doves symbolize, right? Simple Google search. Doves are a universal symbol of peace, love, purity, and hope. And I mean, the two protagonists are absolutely that. They absolutely are that. And lonesome, which is also, the the duality of them. These are two very different words, but they both define Woodrow F. Call and Gus McCree perfectly. These are two men that are troubled by old flames, old loves that they did not pursue correctly. They are lonesome, but they are still symbols of peace, love, purity, and hope.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that there's, I think on the surface, you could say, okay, well, that's where they came from. That's would be like the surface, reading of it. We know it means more than that. Title always says that. I think everybody is searching for something, and they're wanting a kind of a promised land for themselves. I mean, Gus is surrounding himself traditionally with conversation and women, humor, and yet he carries a lot of old losses. And then Lorena longs to be somewhere else because she's lonely even when surrounded by men. And all these people are together, but yet they all have this kind of lonely thing about them, but yet within them all, especially our protagonists, I would say the five I mentioned earlier, there is this dove thing in them, because you're right, Nick, like the whole thing about like peace and innocence and new life and all that, tenderness, all of that, and the Holy Spirit, you said, Jason, all of those things are together. We're broken, we're searching, we're thinking something else is going to get us to our place of peace, and maybe it won't. But what they find on this journey is that their loneliness is because they were searching in the wrong place. Really, it was always within them the whole time. And I think it comes out really powerfully, whether they realize it or not. It's a really powerful message in the story that what they need is actually in them right now. And through their life circumstance and what they experienced, they thought they wanted something else. It gives more poignancy to what Jeet was saying about, leaving your home and going here, what are we doing? I think that really hit the nail on the head about don't look somewhere else for this significance that you're looking for, because the dove is already inside of you. And so,
man. That's
does that
so
make
good.
sense?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, bro. That's my favorite part of this whole discussion right now. That what you just said, that was good. That was good.
I think about doves like in the Bible. Obviously, we have the Holy Spirit, but the other major one is in Genesis and with Noah, and we know that the dove came back with the olive branch in his beak to show that there was dry land. And in some ways, they were searching for that promised land elsewhere, but that was not going to bring them back that olive branch, because that olive branch was already within them, And I think that's really clear with the Gus and the Lorena interaction of him like showing that within herself. So anyway,
Oh my God,
that's how I feel about it.
dude, this is so great, because where does Gus want to be buried when he dies? Back to the original place he always was.
Yes.
The happiest,
Absolutely.
the place he was happiest, under the pecan trees, where he was.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, dang, bro. Oh my gosh. That's good, dude.
What a brilliant title, and I'm glad Mela asked it. It was one of my questions too, because I thought, man, this title is it's asking us a question. And I did some soul searching on that one, and but it's also, I think it's a similar, like when we're looking at the other similarity that I saw between Gus and Woodrow to Sam and Frodo, even though they're on different journeys, there's still this sense of like, this was in you all the time, and you sought it in the wrong places. We know from an Orthodox perspective that going to the hospital helps us to find that, and that God, has created His image and likeness. That's absolutely within us. Yeah, what a great, oh man, I could go on forever. You could either talk about it for 5 minutes or 5 years.
I wanted to,
And I would have to say, Nick, I'm glad you didn't spin the wheel, because this, I would say, would be my favorite of all of the Monday movie night movies we've done.
I mean, it's easy to say that, because, like I said, 6 hours to dive into the story. It's not quite an entire season of a show, an entire season. That's a task. That's a very laboring task. And then you've got multiple writers and stuff. Like, this episode was written by this person, that episode, it varies so much with an entire season of a show, but a mini series, especially one like this that was so respectful to the book, and it was just to the point enough. It's funny, like the whole first episode of it, it's all just laying down what it is, you know. It's you could look at this as like one big movie, but yeah, the first episode, Act 1, yeah, you know, it's not very exciting. It's typical cowboy stuff, you know, but it really 2, 3, and 4 parts 2, 3, and 4 really go into some heavy depth, and
yes,
masterpiece.
So I want to talk about Gus's death and Woodrow taking him back to Texas.
Yes,
of course.
yes.
I'll try to be. I know we're short. I know we're getting.
You're
close.
good, man.
Do it,
You're
man.
good. Take your
Do
time.
it.
Take your
Do
time.
it.
All right, cool. So, you know, Gus takes a couple arrows in his leg, and he escapes the situation, but he's essentially looking at dying. He finds a doctor who amputates the leg that was hit with the arrows. However, he's going to lose the other leg as well due to infection and things. I guess his other leg got injured as well or something. But Woodrow, tracking down where Gus ended up, Woodrow ends up showing up at the doctor's office where Gus is laying there with a missing leg. And I thought it was so wonderful because I love Gus, you know, always humorous, even in the darkest moments. When he wakes up and he notices one of his legs is gone, and the doctor's sitting there sleeping because he's so exhausted from sawing off this guy's leg, right? And Gus wakes up, swigs a bunch of whiskey, and then he wakes up the doctor, and the doctor snaps awake. And Gus says, "Hope you didn't throw away my leg. Gonna want to make a walking stick from it." from the bone. And I was just like, yo, dude, like, that is so hardcore and awesome. But there's also wisdom in that, right? Because you're never gonna find a better walking peg than your own bone. And so that was an interesting line of dialogue there that I thought was very interesting. And then he says to the doctor, "If you'd have taken both my legs, I'd shot you dead." and the doctor is just kind of like, the doctor's like, "Look, man, I don't know what to tell you. I have to operate the second leg within the hour, or you're cooked. Like, I won't be able to save you after that." And Gus, being stubborn, he's like, "No, you're not going to do it." And I think that was Gus just saying, "Look, this is the end of my road. Let me die how I'm going to die. Why should I prolong this with no legs, you know?" And so Woodrow shows up, and Woodrow is also trying to, you know, kind of reason with him, like, "Look, man, let him cut the leg." And the doctor's like, "Well, it's too late now. I can't do it anyway." And so now we have this moment between Woodrow watching over his friend who's basically dying, and Gus wants to write a letter to Lorena and Clara and have Woodrow deliver them. And so Gus is there, and he's kind of passing in and out, and he's writing these letters, and he says, dangerous writing to two women at the same time." You know, which that is so funny because in modern context, right? Like, imagine you're texting like two different women, but you confuse which one's which. And you're like, "Oh shit, I sent that to the wrong woman." You know,
you said the wrong text out. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yes. So Gus is literally like trying not to say the wrong thing to the wrong woman because they're two totally different women. One's a whore, and one's like a noble, beautiful woman. And so, and he says, "Dangerous writing to two women at the same time." And Woodrow goes, "Want me to help you with that?" And he looks at Woodrow and he goes, "How would you know what to say to a woman?" And because we know Woodrow had a falling out with his woman who he had knew with. He didn't say a word. You know, he sort of went quiet and moved on and got all
He is
stoic
not a
about
ladies'
it.
man. Yeah.
No, he's not. Yeah, he's not a talker. He's not a ladies' man. And Gus is like the opposite, right? I thought the friendly, humorous dynamics there in that very deep emotional scene was really nice. I liked how it balanced it out. Because if that little bits of humor and sort of brotherly relation wasn't happening, that scene would have been just waterfalls, man. That would have been another one where I was just like couldn't take it. But then so Gus, he does repose, and his last request to Woodrow is to take him back to Texas, and Woodrow, obviously, he's going to honor his brother's request, and he kind of cracks one last joke. He's like, "You sure you don't want me to take you to the South Pole and bury you there?" Because he's like, "You're basically asking me to take you across the planet, dude.
Right.
Like, dude, like, why don't I just take you to the South Pole?" So I thought that was another little hint of sort of their stoic humor in these very deep, tumultuous moments of true emotional vulnerability, and which man, these guys, they're so the levels of respect I have, even though they're fictional characters, they speak to this thing in men that we see in other men, and we just eat it up. We can't get enough of it. I mean, these guys are like heroic, and that's what I love about Westerns in general. But so Woodrow goes on this long, arduous journey, and he could have buried him at Clara's. He could have buried him. There were several places he could have buried him.
Yep.
But no, he held true, and he's crossing rivers. The casket breaks. The body goes down the river. He reclaims the body. He builds a little
The
drag.
cart breaks.
A little drag. Yes, exactly. He has a makeshift cot. He's dragging him now. Then the vultures are eating the body, and he's fighting vultures. And I mean, so it's just like so much trouble. It's so much trouble that Gus put him through having him do this. And this is the beauty of it, because the whole movie we see how troublesome Woodrow's stubbornness is on those around him. And Gus in this last request is kind of like, all right, you've given us hell our whole lives because you're so stubborn. Well, I'm about to give you some hell in my own stubbornness. How do you like it? How do you like it? And of course Woodrow is up to the task. He won't shirk the task. But I thought that was just like, there's so much wisdom and humor in Gus and the thing in his relationships with everybody. So anyway, Gus puts Woodrow through all this trouble, and Woodrow, who's equally stubborn, is like, no, I'm doing it. So they're sort of like stubborn measuring, like they're like, which one of us is more stubborn? And it made me, stubborn maxing. And it made me think of the nature of stubbornness itself. And I was thinking about it, and I thought this is interesting because, stubbornness, there's a strength and resolve that is part of stubbornness, right? I have the strength and resolve to hold to this no matter what. I don't care. Call me stubborn. And then I thought about it in the dichotomy of how we see them implement this stubborn quality about themselves. It's always in acts of love and righteousness. They are stubbornly good. And so the stubbornness isn't a character flaw. It's actually a positive character attribute. And it speaks to the love and honor that they have. And they are willing to go to outstanding lengths for one another, for honor, for righteousness. And so that's why I wanted to touch on that. I thought that was just...
Ain't that incredible? Because these are good moral beings, and they're stubborn about being good moral beings.
Yes. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it really is. And it's funny how beautiful the ending is, where Woodrow is dragging Gus's body with the broken down cart, the makeshift sled or whatever you would call it, the pallet with two boards that's hooked up to reins, and just not only as a testament to the stubbornness, it's beautiful, it's sad, it's tragic, yet there is humor in it. it's still kind of funny, dude. That like this was Gus's
absolutely.
wish, and it's like, damn it, I'm gonna do it. He's lost his clothes, he's lost his cart, he's lost the coffin for his friend, but you know what? I'm gonna fight these vultures off, and I'm gonna drag his body to Texas, where he'd want to be buried.
And there's even that scene too, and it speaks to this idea of how stubbornness is actually a positive quality, where Woodrow, he's riding up, and poor Gus is on this makeshift sled, the vultures and everything, and he comes up to this ridge, and there's a huge river, and then like another ridge on the other side. And there's just a moment where Woodrow sees what's before him, and he's like, I gotta cross this terrain. I gotta, like after all of this, now I gotta cross it. Like, at any point, if he wasn't so stubborn, he would have just gave up. He would have just buried him there and been like, look, bro, I can't keep traversing these geological barriers. But no, he didn't give up, man. He honored his friend, and he put himself through hell to do it. And then when he finally buries him, and he makes the cross and puts it next to his grave, and he says, there you are, Augustus. I guess this will teach me to be more careful about what I promise in the future. He's like, yeah.
And I think it speaks to something. I'm going to ask the ladies in the chat to answer this question. For guys, when we have a really good friend, we consider them a brother. I mean, we really do.
Yes.
This like we have a brotherhood, and is it the same thing with ladies when like you have a really good female friend, you look at her as a sister? I'm curious about that. I've never asked that question, but it just dawned on me because every really close male friend of mine, I've always considered to be a brother, and I think guys are just that way. Is that the same with ladies? I'm asking that for chat. Yep. Oh, Suzanne says yes. All right. Oh,
nice.
Firefly, yeah.
It might even be more profound. They literally physiologically synchronize.
They are so dedicated to their sisterhood that their hormones synchronize. Their natural bodily functions will line up on a calendar. No, this was... We could probably go on for another hour analyzing this masterpiece. We really could. This was... my friend who suggested it, he told me this was life-changing to him and helped define him as a man. And because he watched it really young, and I totally see why. This thing's incredible. I'm raising my score. I'm raising it to 9.2.
Yeah,
it's a 9.2 out of 10.
It's got to be close to 10 because it's awesome.
The only thing that holds me back is, it's Western cinematography, but at the same time, it was 1989. It was made for TV. It was,
Yep.
Forgive it for that. There was so much more to it than just the visuals of this show. And
that story and the impact goes by the wayside when you get what it's done to our hearts.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Crazy.
you can ignore that aspect of it when it's like, no, these are engaging characters. These are, and I struggle with that with watching a lot of Westerns because they don't really show too much depth in people. You know what I mean?
No.
A Western has just enough time to show like one strong characteristic trait of a person. You're either good or you're bad, or you're a coward, or no. This movie allows you to see who the coward is, why he's the coward. This allows you to show you. I don't know. I'm going off on a whole separate tangent.
Well, it makes me think of one of my favorite Western quotes of all time. I'm sure some of you guys who talk to me and other places have heard this. From Angel and the Bad Man, starring John Wayne. He says, there's so much good in the worst of us, so much bad in the best of us. And that to me is just a wonderful line.
Yeah, doesn't he finish up with saying, so were any of us to talk about the rest of us? I think that's the rest of that line, isn't it?
What's that?
I think there's another part of that line that's like, there's so much good in the worst of us and so much bad in the best of us. Who is anyone else to talk about the rest of us? Wasn't that the rest of what he said?
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been. It's been a minute since I've watched that one.
Yeah, that because I remember that line. It's really powerful. My God.
Yeah. One of the best. Yeah.
Well, guys.
Are we wheel spinning?
Well, I think it's time to consult the Great Wheel. I feel I owe the wheel an apology for overriding the wheel last week. I hope the wheel is merciful to all of us this week for my transgression of picking outside of the wheel. Great wheel, you giveth and you can taketh as well. And I apologize, but it was a great panel and it was a great pick, damn it. Please do not punish us. Oh, Will. Are you guys ready?
We are ready.
Before I hit the wheel, I want to give a shout out to Sweater. Sweater had just received his package today. He sent me my first icons.
Ooh, nice.
That's wonderful.
Awesome.
I didn't own
Sweater.
any icons. I'm not going to lie. I was self-conscious about the icon thing. I thought I had to drop like $500 on a hand-painted icon. I thought that's how it worked. And he said no. And also, here, dummy, here's some icons.
God bless you. Love it.
They're beautiful. Thank you, brother. I'm going to hang them appropriately. Quick question. It's not panel related. It's Orthodox related. Is it weird to hang an icon at work?
No, I mean,
I wouldn't know. I have never had a job.
it depends on I have icons. I have icons at my work, but
Right,
I don't think it's weird.
Okay. Anyways, all right, let's get back to this. Great wheel. Great wheel, give us our pick for next week, please. Oh, be a good one, be a good one. Oh.
World Tenenbaum
Whoa!
for Suzanne.
Yeah!
What was
Yeah! Oh, you can't see it. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me figure out this scene.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's still spinning for me, man.
I'm just thinking it's for me.
Hold on. I'm sorry, guys. This is not me rigging the wheel. Great wheel. I did not rig anything. Okay, here we go. This was the wheel's pick.
Oh, God.
This was the wheel's pick. I have been waiting for this movie. Great wheel. Thank you so much.
The wheel has given.
Yes!
The wheel has given.
Yes. The
Love
wheel
it.
giveth.
All right.
Boys, I'm sorry. It's Nikki's pick two panels in a row, but this is a fantastic movie. This movie absolutely dissects brotherhood, biological brotherhood, and how they manage the death of the patriarch in the family. And also another movie with Angelica Houston. It's a great movie. This is the first Wes Anderson movie that our panel gets to dissect. I am so excited.
I love it.
I am such a big fan of Wes Anderson, and he's got quite the catalog to get into.
Is that Monday?
Is that who?
Will it be Monday of next week?
Yes. So for the next 2 weeks, I think Monday will be the right course of action.
Okay, cool.
And then
All right, I'll be back.
I don't know after that. I think we might have to move to Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Okay. Tuesday, isn't it? Anyways,
I'll be seeing my godson, but I'll be back by Monday night, so that's good.
excellent. Yes, Monday, this Monday And sorry, guys, you've got 5 days to watch this movie, but you know what? I might stream it tonight. I think I'm going to stream it tonight in the Discord, if you guys are down. This movie is incredible. I liked this movie before I was even smart enough to really comprehend what it was about. And then watching it again, it was like, wow, this is actually deep. And, no, it's incredible. The Darjeeling Limited, I believe it came out in 2008. I could be wrong. Let me look real quick. The Darjeeling... 2007. 2007. Owen Wilson, Adrian Brody, what's his name? Matt Schwartz? Jason Schwartzman? Angelica Houston, Bill Murray makes an appearance. Of course he does, because you know it's a Wes Anderson movie. Of course he makes an appearance. Yeah, fantastic film. I'm excited for you guys to dissect this one. But yeah, guys. Oh, great panel. Great panel. I love you, boys. Thank you. And this has been a great show. You guys have brought great insight to one of my favorites, Lonesome Dove. Yeah. So, guys, if you want to follow along, right? So we just picked the Darjeeling Limited. I'm going to upload it immediately onto the Telegram channel. If you're not familiar with Telegram, just download the app and look for the title Monday Night Monday Movie Club Movies, or t.me/Monday Night Movie Club. The movie will be posted there. It's the exact copy of the movie we're all going to watch, so you can follow along on next week's panel on Monday, 8 p.m. Central. Thank you guys for watching. Jason, you got anything to plug?
Just the Instagram, JSN Shoal at Instagram.
At JSN
I
Shoal.
always give, yes, at JSN Shoal. Yeah, for anyone on there, I usually just post a lot of art. I post movie takes, and sometimes on these panels, if I don't get to all my notes, I usually dump some of my leftover notes on there as well. So anyone who likes to further the discussion on any of the movies we're talking about, please hit me up on there. I'm more than happy to hear your takes.
Excellent. Josiah, go ahead.
My plug would just be, if you have not watched Lonesome Dove, you got to watch it. And then the other plug would be, after you watch Lonesome Dove, then we're all Lonesome Dove, so go to liturgy.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. God bless. Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for liking the stream. This was the Monday Night Movie, Monday Club on Wednesday. Next week, we return to Monday. We've got 5 days to watch this movie. I'm probably going to watch it 3 or 4 more times, because this one's a lot easier to watch than Lonesome Dove. You don't need to dedicate that much time to it. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you Monday, 8 p.m. Central. Good night, everybody.
See ya.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Great movie, Lonesome Dove. I loved it. Fantastic movie. I loved it. Never seen it. I hear great things. Robert
No one
Duvall.
says goodbye like a Nikki.
Nobody says goodbye like Nicky. He's a great closer. He gives great closing statements. Goodbye. So